we're missing something here, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene came here and she said that basically what happens for a lot of bills is there's like 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats, and they just go, meh, meh, no one actually votes. And then she's like forcing a vote on it, right? So there are bills that get passed without a vote.
Not as much anymore, because when I started forcing votes, and then 3 or 4 years ago, a group of people like Marjorie started showing up and started forcing the votes. So I didn't have to.
Wouldn't it be better off if there was no vote then?
No vote? What do you mean?
Like, you could get a bill passed with no one voting on it?
They tried to do that on March 27th, the CARES Act, when I drove to Washington, D.C. and forced all of Congress to vote on $2 trillion bill.
But like,
thanks for that. That was a good one.
This is what I want to understand. Why is it that with the omnibus, they can squeeze in all this psychotic garbage, they can pass bills without a vote, but when it comes to the things that are reasonable that would be good for this country, it's like, we just can't do it.
Well, now you're talking about FISA this week, which
Sure.
we got to the brink of having a vote. How much do you want to know about
I want to know
this?
all. What is?
All right,
what
so
is
let's start at the beginning. What is FISA?
Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act passed in 2008, ostensibly to spy on foreigners, okay? And to give the authorities, CIA, NSA, FBI, you go spy on foreigners. They started using this program to spy on Americans. Now, the way they do it, they say it's legal, and it may be legal, but it's not constitutional. I know that's some cognitive dissonance, but the laws, the legal framework they're using, they say, okay, we're targeting foreigners, and that could be Angela Merkel. Okay, it doesn't have to be Osama bin Laden. Of course, our CIA is spying on every head of state and every one of their chief deputies. Okay, so if you are targeting those foreigners, then you collect a lot of information, and there's Americans in that information. Like your emails may be in there because it went through the same server, okay, that Angela Merkel's chief deputy stuff went through. So now your stuff's in there. So now they say the FBI and all these organizations, they claim they don't need a warrant to go into that database, which is enormous, and search for Tim Pool's emails. And they don't even need probable cause. And so this has become known over the years that this is going on. First of all, Congress had to find out of this happening. And then next, people had to start caring. And we got to that point this week. And then we had to get a chairman of a committee who wasn't compromised, which is hard to do, to care about this. And that's Jim Jordan, who chairs the Judiciary Committee. And then advance a bill in his committee. So we put a FISA reform bill through his committee. I'm on Judiciary Committee too, which says you've got to get a warrant. Okay. And it has some other good reforms in there. Right now, the government buys information about you that they would otherwise need a warrant for. But because they can buy it, they say they don't need a warrant to get it. So for instance, everybody's phone knows that you're speeding.
Yep.
Okay. And the phone company could sell that to the government.
Imagine how much money they'd make if they bought that data and sent everybody a ticket.
Correct. But they sell, stuff, not that kind of material, but very similar kind of stuff. And the government should need to get a warrant to buy that. Anyways, so we put all that in this bill. This week, we got it to the Rules Committee. Okay. There was an argument over jurisdiction, the Intel Committee, which meets in secret, and they're responsible for overseeing CIA, NSA, all those departments. They claim jurisdiction on this bill. Judiciary claimed jurisdiction on the bill. The reality is there's joint jurisdiction, but if it's domestic spying, that is definitely the jurisdiction of the Judiciary Committee. Well, the Intel Committee said, we're going to blow this whole thing up if you don't agree to our terms of engagement on the floor of the House. And we said, okay, what are those? And they said, we're going to take out the warrant provision. We're going to take out the loophole around the warrant of buying the day. We're going to sanitize your bill and make it more like a clean reauthorization of what exists. But you can have votes on the floor to put your stuff back in. Those are the terms of engagement we agreed to. So they dumbed down the Judiciary bill. We brought it to the Rules Committee. We were having a debate there on which amendments to allow, like putting the warrant back in. We were going to have that vote on the floor, and we started winning. We were winning. We were going to win on the floor of the House, and they canceled the committee while I was in it.
Who is they, though?
The speaker, but he was pressured by the Intel committee. They've basically gone rogue.
So he's a coward.
They've gone rogue.
Yeah. So literally, the Intelligence Committee, which is prevented specifically by this specific amendment, is literally derailing Congress.
Correct.
So that way they are not limited by the thing that exists currently to limit them.
Correct.
These people are evil.
This
Yes.
happened yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Like in real time. I'm in the committee listening to Jim Jordan testify on the bill. And we're in the Rules Committee. We're getting ready to hear from the Intel Committee, and they refuse to show up. They refuse to show up and engage on a battlefield that they set. They set the rules of engagement, and we didn't like them, but we said, okay, as long as we can have a fight and force everybody to take this vote on the floor of the House on whether you need a warrant or not. And they agreed to that, and then
So it's Mike Johnson's fault?
I don't want to say his fault completely. Like if he had forged forward and tried to get it to the floor, they were going to take down the rule. Now that means they were going to try to keep the bill from coming to the floor because they were going to vote against the rules for the bill, which is one of those procedural things that nobody gets blamed for, right?
Yeah.
If you go home and
Maybe they should.
yeah, maybe they should, but if you go home and say, "Oh, I didn't vote against the warrant provision. I voted against some procedural thing." And they get away with it, so they threaten to do that. Normally, you can't do that. The Intel Committee is called a select committee. What that means is there's no meritocracy. There's no steering committee that decides who goes on Intel Committee. The Speaker of the House puts them on that committee.
So if the Intel Committee refuses to play ball, they refuse to be involved, then the Speaker should remove them from the committee and put people on that are willing to go.
Correct. But, okay, so let's say the Speaker does that to 20 Republican members of the Intel Committee, including the chairman of the Intel Committee. What if 2 of them just get ticked and quit Congress?
Then there's fear that you're gonna.
Then we're not in the majority anymore. This is the weird situation that we're in. Anybody can form a gang, and so this week the gang was the Intel Committee. Last week it was the 4 New Yorkers who took out Santos, who started that. They formed a gang and demanded to have a vote on what's called the state and local tax deduction, where you can take your state and local taxes off of your federal taxes, which at first sounds like a good idea. Nobody wants to pay more taxes, but it actually benefits blue states like California and New York, who are taxing the crap out of their citizens. And what it means is somebody in New York who makes, let's say, $200,000 a year won't have to pay as much for our military as somebody in Kentucky who makes $200,000 a year, because the person in New York pays less federal tax because their state has taxed the crap out of them. So the New Yorkers were trying to make a political win. So they took the whole Republican conference hostage a couple weeks ago and got a vote on that, which they lost.
I think the reality is there's no Republican majority. There's a handful of Republicans that are actually Democrats.
We are minnows. Majority in name only.
Yes.
It's like if they were to resign, I feel like having it's just like.
But the problem
maybe
is,
it's more worse.
Like the
than
Mayorkas
having them be
vote.
rogue.
Like
it's less
Ken,
worse.
Ken Buck may as well be a Democrat. He voted to keep Mayorkas. Why?
Yeah.
Because he's retiring?
I don't know why he decided to do that.
He decided
he
he's
argued-
retiring, right?
He's retiring.
Yeah, so he decided he would stick a knife in the back of the younger generation of this country on his way out.
But wait, let's be fair. We eventually got Mayorkas impeached this week, and what's it going to accomplish?
Nothing.
Nothing. So Ken Beck stopped nothing from happening, for nothing that would accomplish anything. He stopped nothing that would accomplish anything from happening.
And so
No,
you think-
I honestly don't care.
when you guys say
Right.
nothing,
I mean, like,
is that because when it goes to the Senate, it's just
It'll
gonna,
die.
yeah.
DOA.
They won't even bring it up.
Yeah, it's not. It's yeah, right. There will be no trial. There will be no.
There needs to be a significant majority that the Republicans can actually do something with. That's not paper thin, because right now they're like with the MAGA kind of, America First conservatives, and then the would probably be called the establishment conservatives. They'll harpoon each other's ideas, And I mean, I obviously have my own personal opinions on what should be done. And I'm a small government kind of guy, and I want it to be as small as we can make it and still function the way that we need to. But like, there's going to be significant pushback from not just the Democrats, but anything that actually shrinks the government is probably going to get pushback from the more establishment Republicans, the fiscal conservatives. And again, I've been following Thomas Massie's career since he got into Congress, and these guys have been pushing back against the same Leviathan forever. They've always, Thomas Massie catches a lot of hell because he votes no on foreign aid stuff, and he's trying to be fiscally conservative, and it's just an uphill battle. And then the government itself doesn't want to be regulated, so it's a freaking nightmare.
But here, think of it this way: if Congress is a video game, you get to restart every 2 years. I keep making it to a higher level every time I play.
Thank God.
There you go.
Now I'm in the inner chamber. I'm in the, what are they?
The sanctum,
beast,
the belly. You're in the belly.
No, he's at the.
You're retrieving the
sub
the wishbone from the throat
boss.
of
I'm at
the
the sub boss.
Sub boss, yeah.
Of the whale?
What's the boss for the mini boss?
The mini boss.
Yeah.
You're fighting like the third mini boss now.
Fighting the mini boss in the rules committee. So so I'll put another quarter in. Okay, that shows you how old I am.
Yeah, it's 50 cents nowadays.
I'm right there with you.
I feel like we need more people
I'll ask you after the show.
that are willing to dispense with political parties and do what's right for the Constitution and the country. Like, it was George Washington's main thing. Stay away from political parties.
That
They're
is
bad
the
news.
direct opposite of what they want, though. The Constitution exists as a limiting machine. Like, the point is, it's a no machine. It tells the federal government, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. The federal government fucking hates that shit. Like, they want to be able to do stuff. Now we got the federal government's busy trying to get into bathrooms and whether or not you use the right pronouns, and should that be something the government talks about. These are things the government has no business being involved in.
I understand in modern technology with internet and the ability for countries to spy on us, we do need an adaptation to our Constitution. Like, we can't just sit here with our thumbs up our butts and be like, yo, just mail me your vote later.
There's
we
an
need
amendment process. That's fair enough. Totally fine if you want that. Like, if you believe that 100%, and maybe you're right, but there's a process, and nobody wants to do the process because it's hard, and nobody wants to do anything hard.
I want to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
our
that.
Constitution was last amended in 1992. Like, it can be done.
Yeah.
What was that last amendment?
It was to keep congressmen from voting to change their own pay, but without an intervening election. And the interesting thing is that 27th Amendment was proposed by the Founding Fathers, and it just never got ratified until 1992.
How come,
It's actually the basis of my lawsuit against Nancy Pelosi, which I'll find out Friday or Monday whether the Supreme Court's going to take up.
What's the suit?
So during COVID, I refused to wear a mask. Like, I played along for a while because I thought, okay, I got to represent my constituents, and if I can't speak and I don't, but eventually Pelosi said, they said, when will you get rid of the mask mandate? And she said, when everybody gets vaccinated. And I said, whoa, I ain't letting this morph from a mask mandate to a vaccine mandate. So I led 10 members of Congress to the floor of the House during a C-SPAN footage and showed none of us were wearing masks. And so then I got fined by Nancy Pelosi. And the only way she could get that money from me was to reduce my salary.
And she did.
And she did.
Wow.
And so, but the 27th Amendment, which doesn't have a lot of case law because it wasn't ratified until 1992, says you can't change a member's salary without an intervening election.
Wow. Interesting.
Not just raise salaries, you can't change salaries.
Correct.
Change it, yes.
And the founders debated this on why you couldn't. The reason for instance, our salaries paid out of the Treasury and not by the states in the House of Representatives is the founders were worried that the states might withhold our salary and that we should be accountable to the people as House of Representatives, not to the states.
Yeah. The 27th Amendment, no law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election for representatives shall have intervened.
And that means that they would have to have you'd have to run against someone that wanted to run against you in order for your salary to be changed after that election?
Correct. And most people think it was just to increase it, but Founding Fathers said if you can control a person's sustenance, you can bend their will.
Nancy Pelosi is an evil human being.
Would it have been that they'd have an election with just you? If she just wanted to change your salary, would it just be you would have to have an election, or all of Congress would be up for election?
Well, they did vote for a rule, which counts as a law in the House of Representatives. They voted for a rule on how to fine us, how to reduce our salary. So if she had put that in before the election, she could implement that rule and probably reduce my salary individually using that rule. But that rule was not in place for fining people for not wearing a mask.
So she's in violation of the 27th. And when do you say you're going to go hear the court?
So this will not surprise you. We had the only venue we can take it up in is D.C. Okay, so we lost at the district level and the appeals level, and now we're asking for the Supreme Court to take it up. We'll probably find out Friday or Monday.
What was the opinion of the lower courts that justified changing your pay without an election?
Oh, they said that there's another part of the Constitution that says each house shall make its own rules, and that we can make whatever rules we want.
So the 27th Amendment doesn't exist.
And then that's right.
Yeah.
And there's another thing in the Constitution. People don't like this. I didn't find out about it till I got elected. We have like super First Amendment rights as members of Congress.
Wait, what is it?
Speech or debate clause.
Speech or debate clause.
What's that?
It says we can't be held accountable for anything we say in the House or do in the House of Representatives.
That means he can go to the floor of Congress and claim that Ian Crossland kicks puppies for a living
really?
and makes money off it, and you can't do anything about it.
Really?
And it sounds like a bad thing at first, but if you go look at what the king was doing to the Parliament, he would just bring up these little things and just tie you down. There'd be a Fani Willis, there'd be 10 of them for every member of Congress trying to litigate every word we say or everything we put on X.
But now you get people like, Jamie Raskin or Adam Schiff who will...
Correct, and that's the price you pay.
Yeah.
They can lie. They're allowed to lie. I'm sorry.
They're allowed to slander or
Yes.
And defame and libel.
And,
Yep.
okay, but here's just getting back to the court
but only
case.
on the floor. Sorry to interrupt. Only on the floor. They
No,
can't go on-
it's been ruled to also cover our staff and committees, and it may.
Oh, for God's sake.
And
Have you considered being evil to get what you want?
wait? But
Thomas
let me-
Massie goes Machiavellian. I love it.
Let me finish out this. So the judges in the circuit court, the district court, they said two things: you get to make your own rules, and Nancy Pelosi is covered by the speech or debate clause because this was an official activity that she undertook as a member of Congress.
See,
And to your point, Tim, the 27th Amendment, if they don't take up our case and reverse this, 27th Amendment's not enforceable. We should
Doesn't
just
exist.
go give ourselves a pay raise because it's an official action covered by the speech or debate
But
clause.
it just she can't, saying what she wants to say is different than changing your salary. That's not. I don't. What's speech or debate about salary here?
Well, she had to basically utter the words to make the bill come into existence. So it's covered. There's a lot of case law that says that's covered.
maybe we just need some Republicans to start accusing Democrats of egregious activities.
Well,
You
I don't
can't
want
do anything about it.
I don't want to
Just
repeal
roll, baby.
the speech and debate clause because
No.
it would that would be bad for senators to get down.
Lie about them as much as you can, and if you can lie and
Sorry.
throw them in jail, lie and throw them
We
in
have
jail.
a republic that works with an ethical society. We must remain ethical. That's why this Constitution works.
Listen, I want Representative Massie to listen. So I have a theory that liberalism has a blind spot, and liberalism is vulnerable to authoritarian ideologies because authoritarian ideologies don't value things like honesty, integrity, truth. They are just about power. So because of that, you can't be liberal in opposition to illiberal forces. So let's just bring the boot down on them.
Well, this is the Karl Popper meme.
That kind of is, yeah.
If those who are tolerant will tolerate intolerance, intolerance will shut down tolerance.
Partially, I think so, but you're right because the way that it plays out, that is the function. But it, from my perspective, the point that I'm trying to make is it does boil down to a difference of entire philosophy of the way that the world works and how government should be approached and stuff. And we talk about the rules and we talk about all of these protections that are in the Constitution, et cetera. But if the people, as in the population, don't want representatives that care about those things, and apparently, if you look at the people that make up Congress, they don't want those things. These things don't matter to the population. What do you do?
Thank you, Phil. I've quit blaming my colleagues for anything. I blame the people that voted for them. I don't get mad at AOC. I don't get mad at AOC. She's a duly elected person representing her district. And, actually, I get more upset at some of my Republican colleagues who are pretending to be something they aren't.
Yes.
And this is the problem with term limits. Now, we had a term limit vote in judiciary, and I voted for it. But here's the problem. If you throw out all the clowns, who elects the new clowns?
Same people.
Yeah.
Same people pick the new clowns
Okay.
that pick the old clowns.
Here's what we need. We need someone to run as a Democrat, and then once they get elected, just say things like, Adam Schiff soiled himself, tweeted out like, this is shocking. And what you do is there's clever things you do. So there was this guy who made this video where he bought the Apple Vision Pro, right? He's driving in his car wearing it and doing the weird little things with his fingers. And he literally was driving his car while wearing a headset. He then, in the video, it shows cops behind him with their lights on, and he's looking, and he's making it seem like he got arrested. When in fact, what he did was they drove until they saw police, pulled over, and made it seem. So what you do is, when Adam Schiff at any point gets up and like runs out of the room, you film it, and then you can tweet, Adam Schiff soiled himself.
I still smell it.
It smells bad. People are shocked. I can't believe this happened. And then you have a video of him running out, which corroborates it, even though it's a lie. And he can't do anything about it because of the speech and debate clause.
But they can censure you and then George Santos you, remove you. Probably that's what would happen.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.